Hey, hello, this is Rea Mea from For the Love of Dogs and Breyer Horses. I'm going to be answering some questions today about my collection and about my collecting hobby. Obviously, I've got no room on the table here, so all my dogs are off camera a little bit pouting because they couldn't get up on this table. I started collecting Breyer horses in or around 1996. And then when I got to about my graduation, so probably around 2003, 2004, I just kind of got into some other hobbies, and Breyers kind of went to the wayside for a while. And then I started picking it up back again in 2017 when Ash wanted me to go to Breyer Fest with her for the Gateway of India Breyer Fest. And went, and I just fell back in love with the hobby again and started actively collecting again. My inspiration to start collecting was definitely Ash. When we were younger, I met her after I moved to this town, and we became fast friends. Went over to her house for a slumber party and walked into her bedroom, and she just had shelves and shelves and shelves of Breyer horses. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen a toy collection like that in my life at the time, and now I may have copied it a little bit because now this is my collection. But yeah, she definitely inspired me to start collecting. And then I remember thinking that my dad would never pay for these horses because they were so expensive. And he actually surprised me and bought me several, and he still continues to buy me new horses whenever he sees them for a good price or at a garage sale. And he looks out for them, and he tells me when he sees them. So he told me that the reason he didn't have a problem with me collecting these horses was because they would retain their value, and he was right. They certainly retain their value. The type of Breyers that I mostly collect, or the ones that I especially look out for, are blanket Appaloosas and Arabians with interesting markings. So, like the Pinto Arabians or the Air Appaloosas, and Pentaloosas. I especially like those types of Breyer horses. Top 5 favorite molds I have in my collection. I like a lot of different molds, and so I'm not going to sit there and say that I hate any molds. There's definitely ones I dislike more than others. But as far as my top 5 of what I have in my collection right now, it's kind of like picking your 5 favorite kids. But I would say probably, I'll start with my lowest pick and move on up to my top pick. So in slot number 5, I'd say we have the Gypsy Banner. I like this mold because it is very actiony, has a lot of flow to it. His mane's going all different places, his tail's swishing up, and I like action poses more than I like just kind of standing molds. To me, Breyer horses are pieces of art, and art should be enjoyed from every angle. And so I think the more actiony it is, the more you want to pick it up, the more you want to turn it around, the more you want to look at it. My number 4 pick is silver mold. Hidalgo here is the first horse that I do have on the silver mold, or was the first horse that I picked up on the silver mold. And I like him, again, because he's very full of action. He makes you want to turn him all the way around. And when I was collecting in 2003, I remember thinking he was one of the most dynamic looking molds that I had remembered seeing. And incidentally, he's probably one of the last ones I picked up before I stopped collecting, or actively collecting, in 2003. Coming in at number 3 is the Esprit mold. Lord knows if I'm saying that name right. But I am also a big fan of fantasy type movies and books, and to me he just looks like he is popped right out of a fantasy. He's very majestic looking. He's got a flowing mane, he's got a flowing tail, got a horn on him. He looked just like a freaking unicorn, and I just think that he's great. Plus, both of the horses that I have on this mold, Apollo and I think his name is Pecos, they both have this kind of pearly sheen to them, or metallic sheen in Apollo's case, and it just makes them look even more, mythic. Okay, coming in at number 2 is Sham. I've mentioned on some of my other videos that I do quite like vintage molds, especially when they have newer paint jobs. This one is best choice on the Sham mold, and I just have always liked this mold. His swishy tail, again, to me he looks very mythic, very majestic, just beautiful, like he popped right off of the pages of a fantasy story. When I look at him, it gets my imagination going, and that's what I love about these horses. Okay, and my number 1 pick might surprise some people, but my number 1 pick is the Foundation Stallion. I absolutely love this mold. He's the only one that I am doing an active conga on. And it's hard to explain why I like him so much. I think, to me, he just looks like he should be in a forest with mist on the ground, walking out. He's got a very gentle looking face. This forelock is just, I don't know, he just looks so gentle. And I've always been in love with him since I saw him on Ash's shelf. And I absolutely love this mold. Alright, so I will rank my top 5 favorite models in the same way that I ranked my top 5 favorite molds, in the ones the lowest to the highest. So coming in at number 5 is Oak. He was last year's special run, and he's a blanket Appaloosa, obviously, on what I call the George mold. It's probably not how other people pronounce it, but to me it looks like George, and that's what I call him. So he's on the George mold, and I just loved his coloring. I love the dapples they had on his neck. I love the blanket Appaloosa. And mostly he makes the list because of his coloring. Okay, number 4 on my list, if anybody has seen my unboxing videos for this year, one that I absolutely really wanted and got was the 7 Art Surprise Pentaloosa. Breyer doesn't make that many Pentaloosas, and I am in love with them. And so I was super excited when I saw this one. Wanted it so badly, and managed to get 2 of them. So I was very happy, and again, makes the list mainly because of the color. Palomino with the Pentaloosa, Just absolutely beautiful. Okay, number 3 on my list is the Leather Girl Pentaloosa. I like Pentaloosas, and this is the only other Pentaloosa I have in my collection. As I mentioned before, Arabs are some of my favorite molds, and an Arab Pentaloosa just knocks her right up the list. And so, yep, she made the list because being an Arab, being a Pentaloosa, and I do like the chestnut color. Okay, my number 2 and my number 1, they go back and forth. But eventually I settled on Nonuma as my second top pick. As you know, Foundation Stallion is my favorite mold, and this is a new paint job on that old mold with blue eyes and this lovely Brulia color. And I just love it. I love the new paint job on this old mold. And like I said, he kind of was in a battle for first place, but eventually nostalgia won out. And my number 1 pick is the Pentaloosa Champion on the Foundation molds. Ash had this horse on her shelf when we were younger, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I love this heart-shaped blaze he's got going on his face. I love the blanket Appaloosa. I love the chestnut. I love everything about this horse. And when we went to Breyer Horse in 2017 and went to the Clarion for the first time, so let me tell you, that was an eye-opening experience. But yes, we searched the rooms for this horse in particular for me, and I was so excited when I found out. I remember the woman that I bought it from was like, "Why are you so excited to buy this old horse?" But purely out of nostalgic, I love this horse. I still love this horse. He's absolutely my favorite. He's probably one of the reasons why I got so deep into the hobby. Let's see. Some of my favorite colors of Breyers. I especially like chestnuts. I think they're very pretty, and it's probably inspired a little bit by my little Champion Appaloosa there. I like some of the Palominos. The coloring on them has to be bright. I like this one. Some of the more golden ones I'm not as big a fan of. I like blacks. I especially like the black with the blanket Appaloosas. I like Roans too. But what I look for when I'm collecting is I like interesting markings. Again, probably influenced by this guy. I love that blaze that came up over the side of his face, and just I have always wanted to see interesting looking markings. For the True Blue Breyer event, I picked out this guy because of his eyebrows are white, and I thought that was very interesting. And then I was super surprised when I got home and realized that he was also an Appaloosa, which you couldn't really see in the pictures. Probably also why I like Pentaloosa so much, but like this best choice, I like him because of his high socks. I think that's great. So anything with an interesting looking sock or stocking, blaze, star, anything that's just unique, I'm really attracted to when I'm looking for Breyers. Do I have any fun Breyer stories? Well, I guess I'd have to go with when I was younger, I was at an indoor flea market with my family. I just started getting into the hobby, and I saw this set of the Black Beauty set of classics, or what they used to call classics, and I wanted them so bad. And I went and I told my dad because I didn't get allowances. They just kind of bought me stuff when I wanted it. And I went to him and I said, "Dad, I really, really want horses, and he's like, here's $20. I was like, but Dad, you know, they're she wants 25 for him, and he's like, go up and tell her that all you have in your pocket is $20 and see if she'll take it. And I'm so nervous about going up there and haggling, and but I did. I walked up there and told her exactly what he told me to say. I only had the $20, and she was like, okay. So I got the set of the Black Beauties for $20, probably when I was like 12, 13 years old, and just was ecstatic at the time. And to this day, my dad makes sure that I haggle if I have the opportunity. And then the other story that I have is not really so much a Breyer fun story, but it is a Breyer Fest fun story. So the first Breyer Fest I went to after I got back into the hobby was, actually the first Breyer Fest I went to, period, was in 2017. And I took just River and Musu because I wasn't sure if I could handle all 3 dogs. But the following year, I did take all 3 dogs. I took Sai here, and I took Musu, and I took River, and we went everywhere. Worked out pretty good. Most of the dogs are pretty well behaved. This one here is a ham. She loves people. But at one point, I took River just to go do some shopping in the cover arena, and Ashley was sitting in the front row by the railing, and over the railing they had just signs, banners hanging. And when I came back, this one here, Sai, was so excited as I walked up, she backed up and she hit the railing and she went right over it. And she was hanging on the edge with her 2 front paws like this. Yes, you were. And but she was still in front of the banner, so from the arena they couldn't see that she was hanging, but from our spot we could definitely see that she was very near making herself a part of the demonstrations that were going on. But luckily we got a hold of her and got her pulled up quickly. But it was almost a different story. But that's the joys you get from having dogs. So, but yeah, that's my funny story with my size dog. Okay, so that's all I have for this video. If you have any other questions or want to know anything else about me or my collection story, just write it in the comments and I'll get back to you, or I'll make another video answering it. Thanks for watching.